Hi everybody, welcome back to 100% Mag. So Newcastle United took on Wolves at St James's Park tonight, and as you can see, by the scoreline, 1-1 it ended, and I've got to say, looking at that, it does not justify the way that game played out. Newcastle really put in a very good performance in the game. We were very unfortunate to come away from the game with only a point. If you look at the way, the game played out, we absolutely dominated Wolves all over that pitch. Wolves were very lucky to not have a man sent off with how many times they literally dived in on players, and Mike Dean was absolutely horrendous. As you can guess by the title, he was a really bad referee tonight. He was so poor in front of them decisions. He was making some really bad decisions tonight, and one most importantly in that final moment where it should have been a penalty. And of course, before we get to that moment, and before I talk about my thoughts on that moment, we do have to talk about, of course, Martin Dubravka coming back into the game and getting his chance back in between the sticks. And I've got to say, Martin Dubravka came back in and he did absolutely sensational. He was amazing. He pulled off some really great saves, as expected, from one number one goalkeeper, and that proves why we need him in between the sticks instead of Darlow. Not to, of course, be disrespectful to Darlow. He did his bit to do whilst Martin Dubravka was out, but when the big man is back, it's time to bring him in, and it was time to bring Martin Dubravka in, and it proved it tonight, that he needs to be in the games. And of course, we took the lead, 52nd minute, Jamal Lascelles, and of course, Ryan Fraser getting the assist. Absolutely sensational bit of work by Maxi to pull it out of nowhere, get that ball played into a nice, lovely area. Of course, a little bit of a look in our favour with the Wolves player headering out towards, of course, Ryan Fraser, which then Ryan Fraser picked it up, found his space down on the right flank, whipped a lovely ball in, and, out of nowhere, he has Jamal Lascelles, the skipper, stepping up above the rest, leading by example and headering in an absolute thundercunt of a header into the back of the net past Rui Patricio. Alan Shearer would have been well and truly happy with that kind of header. It was absolutely power in the back of that net with that absolutely amazing header. And that put with the lead, and then that lead lasted right the way up until the 73rd minute when Ruben Neves managed to get himself a goal in the game. And, then the rest, as they say, was history. That penalty decision, which in my eyes, if you look at that, it's another one of them very questionable decisions, which is always going to haunt Mike Dean for the rest of his life, because literally he should have made that a penalty. That should have been a stonewall penalty tonight. Roman Sionis shouldn't even be in there behind Rui Patricio, and he just comes flying in behind Rui Patricio. It's already past him. It's going to go in the back of the net past Patricio, and he has Roman Sionis just coming out of nowhere. He shouldn't even be there, and he's just coming out of nowhere, hand right the way up, completely unorthodox, unnatural position for a hand to be. And it should be a handball and a penalty, well and truly stonewall decision, full stop, and that would be given all day long in the past, but not tonight. Not tonight by Mike Dean. For some reason, they deemed it not to be a penalty. Where in the rule book they pulled that one from, I do not know, but it's cost we, and that could possibly cost we as well. With Premier League status, we've seen it with Bournemouth, last season, questionable VAR decision ending up costing Bournemouth their place in the Premier League. And You know, we don't know what's going to happen come the end of the season. If that does cost where we're placed in the Premier League, then us Newcastle United fans and the club Newcastle have the damn right to sue the Premier League. And with what's going on already, you know, do the Premier League really want to have even more lawsuits at their door? Because they already got a lawsuit on their door for not putting the takeover through. So that decision tonight, you know, it just screams corruption from the Premier League yet again, you know, and we've seen it all day today as well. There's been poor Premier League decisions by referees, you know, really bad decisions. Lee Mason made an absolutely massive decision today, which was just absolutely horrendous. And it just shows how inept the refs are in the Premier League. You know, something's got to change about it. And, you know, we'll look at some of the comments here. I've got Thomas saying, evening, mate. Hi, mate. Disappointed, but we'll take it. Fair. It's fair, to be honest, but them 3 points should have been ours, in my opinion, definitely. We played well for the first 30 minutes. Wolves came into the game. After that, Julian missed a couple of sitters. Gill would have buried that. Fair point, Jonathan. In my eyes, fair point. You know, he probably would have, but I feel we did well in the game. But that ref tonight, Mike Dean, just terrible ref. Of course, Thomas says, well, saying Mike Dean was a disgrace. He really was. He was absolutely true. Just absolute trash of a ref, and something's got to be done about it. Jonathan saying he didn't think it was a penalty. The Clark one could have been a penalty to Wolves. Fair point. But we'll look at it, you know, and it should have probably been 3 points tonight. We'll have a quick look at the Premier League table, as you can see up on screen now. And, you know, that game now means that we will only be a point ahead of Fulham. If Fulham, of course, can get that win against Crystal Palace, which hopefully they can't. But if they do, then we'll only be a point ahead of Fulham with, you know, 12 games left to go. Luckily, we've got some pretty easy-ish games coming up. You know, we've got the game against West Brom. We've got a game against Aston Villa as well coming up. So we have got some decent games coming up and abilities to be able to go into it, you know, and come away with the 3 points. But another thing I want to touch on just quickly before I end off the video and end off the live stream, Alan St. Maxim, you know, we're seeing him go off. Hopefully, you know, it's not going to be something absolutely massive, and hopefully will be back fit for the game against West Brom as well. Almiron as well, going off in the game as well. Hopefully the same, you know, it's not going to be a long-term injury. Hopefully we'll be back in time for the game against West Brom. And Emil Kraft as well, for some reason, picked up a knock, and he ended up having come out of the game as well. Hopefully, again, you know, it's not something long-term, but we'll have to see in the coming days what happens with that. But that game tonight should have been 3 points in my eyes. Let us know what you think. You know, hit the like button if you like the video. And any Wolves fans that are watching, you know, what did you think about the game tonight? And did you think the decision from the referee, from Mike Dean, for it not to be a penalty was the right decision? Or did you think it actually should have been a penalty? Because looking at Roman Sionis' face, you know, it said it all. He was a guilty man. He had that look on his face, and it was a guilty man's look that he knew he was in the wrong, and he got off with it in my eyes tonight. But anyway, I'll see you all later. Good night, Thomas. Good night, Freddie, mate. Good night, Jonathan. And good night to everybody who watches the video on the replay. And remember to like, share, subscribe, and how are the lads.